it's charming Austin, Texas. Welcome to our home. Come on in. My name is Lindsay Wasserman. Welcome to our home. My interior decorating business is LMW Decor. I have been working on our historic Victorian since we bought it in 2015. It's been so much fun to decorate a house like this. My husband and I have lived in several older homes, but nothing quite of this vintage. We've had such a ball searching for things, antique hunting, vintage hunting. I think a lot of people are intimidated when it comes to decorating, and I'm here to tell you, you absolutely don't need to be. People will come into my home and think that I've spent a fortune decorating it, and I haven't. We have found a lot of these pieces on Craigslist, at secondhand consignment stores, vintage, antiques, all over the place. And I think you just really need two things. I think you need to be persistent when you're looking for pieces. And I think you just need to look for things you love. And if you look for things you love, you can make them work. So a lot of these pieces have been collected and stored until I figured out how I wanted to use them. I'm sitting on this gorgeous sofa that's one of the very few new pieces in my home, that's normally covered in a blanket because we do have 2 kids and 2 dogs, but everybody uses this room all the time. Nothing in my house is off limits. I'm a firm believer that things are meant to be used. They're not meant to be revered. So my whole family spends time in this room. My kids eat in this room, even though I wish they wouldn't. They play piano in here, which is awesome. It fills the whole house with the sound of music. Sorry, I couldn't resist. And yeah, it's just been, such a fun experience. And we've loved, got lots of cool pieces in here. That beautiful mirror I found at a secondhand store. The chair over here I found at a secondhand store. The piano we traded in our old piano for. Our coffee table, for example, we got at an outlet sale. And probably the only other new thing in here is this gorgeous chandelier that I got from Visual Comfort. And my curtains that are made out of Italian linen that I just love because they remind me of a ballerina's dress. I just love the way they fall and drape and frame these old windows. So yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. It was built in 1892 by the Weisiger White family here in historic Hyde Park. The house has historic status, and we were so lucky in 2015 to be able to become stewards of this house. It is such a unique property in Hyde Park. It's one of the oldest properties here. The house next door is also a Victorian. It was built by members of the family in 1893, and there's yet a third Victorian across the street that was built in 1895. So we have a row of 3 Victorians here that are all very similar in style, built by the same architect / builder. And it's just such a great experience to be able to take care of one of these old homes. Now we're entering another older part of the home from 1892. This room we think was probably originally a dining room, although it could have been a second parlor. We actually used this room when we first bought the house as our family room because there was no other space to put it. And this room also, like the front room, gets such great light. It's such a lovely, lovely space to hang out in. We ended up keeping it after we added on just recently. We ended up deciding to keep this as sort of a lounge room. As you can see, we added this custom bookcase that I'm very proud of. My husband probably doesn't share that sentiment. He loves it, but it took me 3 years to pick the trim for this bookcase, but I'm really proud of how it turned out. And I think it really adds something nice to the house and obviously gives us a lot of storage space for all of our books. I love to come sit in here and curl up with a good book. And there's lots of fun pieces in here. This one I got at a secondhand store. Um, these two end tables, which you can kind of see they're brass and glass. I just love them. And I actually got those on Craigslist. These are some of my favorite paintings that I got from an artist that I love in Santa Fe. And it always reminds me of our trip there, which was so fun. And the mirror is a really cool piece. That's new-ish, but we got it at a consignment store. And I just think it fits the feel of the house so well. So we've decided not to transform it back into a dining room, although you certainly could, but we enjoy using it as a quiet reading area. So now we're entering the part of the house that was added on in 2003. We did not do this addition, but it's kind of fun to note how thick the walls are here. These are exterior walls, and you can see where the transition happened. So this was a very small house. People look at our Victorian from the outside and I think make this assumption that it's a huge house. And it is now, but it wasn't always. So this is where it ended. There was probably a kitchen tacked on at the back. But in 2003, the previous owners decided to add this on. And so this is the new kitchen and breakfast nook, which is another one of my favorite spots. This is why we decided we did not need a formal dining room. We spend a lot of time here. The kids do their homework here while I'm cooking. We hang out here. This is just kind of a catch-all space for everyone. It's a great place for the family to connect. Normally there's a couple dog beds on the floor, but I hid those. And we just love this space. It's so pretty. I love these curtains. That's a Bunny Williams for Lee Jofa fabric that I just love. Love this little fun bench that I got. It was one of the first vintage pieces that I ever bought. The chairs are vintage. They're from Craigslist. The light fixture is also from Craigslist, but I think it was a Restoration Hardware chandelier. And we, about 6 months ago, redid the kitchen. Didn't really change the layout, but I love the soft color and it's so peaceful. I love coming down here in the morning and making my tea. The kids now drink tea with me. It's just such a great space. I mean, who wouldn't love to cook in here? You get to see all these beautiful trees. I feel like I'm in a tree house in this house, which I just love, even on the first floor, which is so nice. I have some of my favorite art pieces in here. This is a piece I got years ago when my husband and I were newly engaged. We went to France, and this was by an artist, and I just fell in love with it. And I think it's such a nice way to think about life, that it's a bowl full of cherries. And this is another favorite piece that actually my next door neighbor's sister is an artist in Maine. And I fell in love with this piece, and we went to Maine last fall, and I was fortunate enough to get to drop into her studio. And she still had this piece available. And I love it. The name of the town is Friendship, Maine. And the name of the painting is Sheltered. And I love that. I think about that all the time. I love cooking and looking at that and thinking, you know what, that's what this house is. It's sheltered and it's safe. And I just love it. So now we're entering into the most recent addition, which we completed in 2021. Again, you can see the walls are a little thicker. This is where the exterior wall was. And for years we lived in the house and tried to decide what we wanted to do and how we wanted to live in the house. The only thing I did not love about the original 1892 portion of the house was that the entryway was very small. And I kind of like a little drama in an entryway. So I told our architect, I really want a bigger entryway in the addition so that when we walk in, we have some space to put down groceries and just some space to breathe and to decorate. So this was really important to me to have this space. I wanted it to be pretty. I wanted to be able to have it be practical too, throw our shoes down there. This goes out to our parking area for our car, so it's really convenient. And of course, it had to have some Victorian drama. So I found this pair of amazing chandeliers on Craigslist and knew exactly where I was going to put them. And love this. This is such a fun open space, and I actually have guests use this as much as I have them use the front door. So it enters into a new family room, which is probably the most used room in the house. I put so much time and energy into the space trying to figure out how big it needed to be and how we really wanted to use it. We love curling up in here, watching movies. It looks out, into our yard. We have a really cool trifold door, which is really nice. You can open it all the way and the kids can just run in and out, which is great. It gets such great light, again, like the rest of the house. We really try to have some continuity with even how the windows are framed out so that it would mimic the front room. We spent a lot of time and energy making sure that this space would really speak to the original part of the house. So this space, I really wanted to have a Victorian vibe, but my influence was London townhouse. I love all things British, and I worked really hard to give this space both with the wall color, which is a Farrow and Ball color, and just the general layout, the fireplace. Really wanted it to have a cozy London townhouse feel to it. I thought that was a nice sort of way to speak to the original Victorian architecture, but clean it up a little, make it a little less fussy. And we just love being in here. The pieces behind me I got at basically a junk store. The side tables also were, I think, bright yellow when I got them, and I had them painted and redone. The coffee table is from Craigslist. The flowers are by me. I used to be a florist. I guess I still am a florist. The gorgeous chairs that I just love, which are covered in a wonderful quadrille fabric, I also got at a consignment store. So once again, decorating on a budget is not impossible, and you can get some really, really beautiful pieces and decorate your space without breaking the bank. So the fireplace is one of my favorite features of the whole room. I found this mantle facade at an antique store in London. It's not an antique, it's a reproduction, but it turned out it was actually less expensive to buy it and ship it from the UK than it was to buy this in the US. So we had it shipped in a huge box, and I just love this. My husband and I really went back and forth about whether to do a wood-burning fireplace or a gas fireplace, and somebody told us about ethanol. So our fireplace insert is an ethanol insert. It's a clean burning fuel. It's so cool. It's so easy to use, and we don't have to worry about any fumes and they're very inexpensive, and they're good for the environment. And it's turned out to be one of our most used things in the house is our little ethanol fireplace insert. This is our ground floor bathroom, again, that I just love. We designed the downstairs space. We have the family room, this full bathroom, and a mudroom. And we designed it so that it could be turned into a second master suite. If we wanted to age in the home, everything is wheelchair accessible. At the time, we thought my mom might come and stay with us for a while. So we wanted to have it be a dual purpose space. I love this bathroom. Everything turned out exactly how I wanted it to. I love the black hex marble tile. The backsplash tile or the shower tile is waterworks, and it's just so pretty. Originally, we had talked about with the architect doing little square windows, and I was driving around the neighborhood one day and saw one of the historic houses had all these round windows. And I called my architect and said, is there any way we can swap the square windows and do round instead? And I am just so happy with how it turned out. I think it's such a pretty space. The fixtures are from the UK. They're unlacquered brass, which I think they're patinaing beautifully. And I just love how they add a sort of a Victorian element to the bathroom. And this sink, I love. It was such a fun, I had so much fun decorating the space. This is one of the few rooms in the house that nobody for once had any input on. I just did it how I wanted it to be. These cute little sconces were $50 off Etsy. And I just think they're so charming and fit the space so well. And yeah, it's just a really pretty ground floor and wheelchair accessible bathroom. So we're back in the original part of the house, the 1892 part. What's so fun about giving this tour to people is the surprise when I tell them this was built as a 2-bedroom, 0-bathroom house in 1892. They had an outhouse. So on either side of me are the 2 original bedrooms, and this was it. That was the whole house. I love this landing. My husband and I have spent a lot of time supervising kid fights from these 2 chairs. There's a lot of back and forth, but let me show you the original bedrooms. So we're walking into one of the original bedrooms. This was probably the smaller of the 2. It's just a nice cozy room, and I love that out the window you can see this enormous elm tree. It is absolutely massive, and I think it provides so much shade for our house. We're so lucky to have it. We have some pictures of the house in 1894 or 5, and you can't see the elm tree. So it sort of gives us a sense of how old it is. And another really cool feature about this room is that it opens up onto a screen porch. So you can see all of Hyde Park from here. Forgive our movie screen, we live on a Halloween street. And we get about 2,000 trick-or-treaters. So in a couple weeks' time, we will have this set up with a projector in there, and we will project a scene so that all of the trick-or-treaters have something fun to see when they come to our house. So now we're heading into what was probably the primary bedroom, I'm guessing, from 1892. And of course, like the downstairs formal living room, it has these magnificent views, this gorgeous bay window. We all love this room. My son loves coming up here. It's so light and so pretty. And of course, he can spy on everybody down in the street. It's so fun. And then again, we've got another door onto the screen porch. So it's a lot of fun. They're great rooms for kids to grow up in. All right, now we're headed into my favorite room in the house, our primary suite. All right, so here we are. This was added in 2003 and is a lovely space. They did a really nice job, again, with the bay window, which is so pretty. And in 2020, we began another addition to add on a primary closet and primary bathroom that was a little bit bigger. So this is obviously a favorite room. We love to come up here and hide from our kids. And as you walk down, you can see the beautiful primary bathroom. This is one of my favorite features in the whole house. I wrestled with what to do up here. Should I do new doors? What should I do? And I was in a salvage store just outside of Austin and found these. They were in really rough shape. They were painted dark brown. And I fell in love with them and called my contractor and said, could we make these work for bathroom doors? All right, now we're headed into the primary bathroom. Come on in. This was such a fun space to design. We really spent, again, a lot of time and energy figuring out, did we really need a bathroom this big? But I'm so thrilled we decided to go through with it. It's such a pretty space, and I think it feels more like a room, which is really what I wanted. I didn't want it to be just a bathroom. I wanted it to feel like it could have been a bedroom that was converted into a bathroom. This bathtub is one of my favorite pieces in the whole house. It's a very big clawfoot tub, and I love it. All right, so here we have some pictures that the previous owners were kind enough to leave for us. These are copies of photos of Hyde Park in 1895. And it's so neat. You can see, I've got a close-up, you can see our house and the house next door to us and the original trolley that I think ran from downtown. And a couple years later, we were contacted by somebody doing their family history, and it turns out that a family member had built this house. And they have a picture from, we think, about 1900, and it's the front of our house, and you can see the exterior shutters, which I wish were still there but aren't. And they think this is the owner's son, and he's probably about 4 or 5 on a pony.
Thanks so much for joining us today on our charming Austin, Texas home tour. For more content, please make sure to like and subscribe.